we should expect that the light of revelation will shine more and more on our minds and on our hearts as we get to the end of time. Now, we do know the focus that we ought to be seeing for information about end time events. Now, this is about information. This is not about the gospel per se. This is not about how to have a relationship with God. This is for information, because God does guide his people using information that is available, that he knows, and so on. And so the book that has last day information is really the book of Revelation. And we know that the book of Revelation is couched in Old Testament language, so that a lot of what we see there references things in the Old Testament in that kind of language and terminology, in order to give us a kind of an understanding of where it's going. But we have to be able to look at it and to decipher it. And this morning Kerry mentioned something about the image to the beast. And we know that in Revelation chapter 13 we have the imagery shown of the beast, the first beast rising up out of the sea, and then the second beast rising up out of the earth. And this second beast caused people on earth to create an image to the first beast. And Kerry's reference this morning led me to look a little more closely at that image, because I'm sure that's what she wanted. I'm sure she's going to have some thoughts to share on it too. But we know that that image is the one referred to in Daniel chapter 3. And I'm not going to bring up the passage now, because I think most of us know what happened there. We remember that in Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he saw the kingdoms of the world portrayed in sequence, coming down to the very last phase. And God, through Daniel, revealed to Nebuchadnezzar the significance of this, telling him that his kingdom was there, Babylon, then it would be followed by another, Medo-Persia, then Greece, then Rome, and then there would be a kingdom set up by the God of heaven, and it would replace all those earthly kingdoms, and it would grow and become a great mountain in the earth. Now, the very next chapter of Daniel tells us that Nebuchadnezzar went ahead and made a golden image. Now, Nebuchadnezzar in chapter 2 had dreamed of this image, but only the head was gold, and the head represented his kingdom. So he comes now in chapter 3 and he makes an image that is completely of gold. Now, what can we think was in Nebuchadnezzar's mind why he would make this image completely of gold?
He was saying his kingdom will never be destroyed.
His kingdom, the golden kingdom, must go right from head to foot. It is not to be destroyed. It is not to be replaced by another. And he was saying, this is what must last, my kingdom of gold. And he went further now to say that everybody in the kingdom must bow down to this image and worship the image. Here was Nebuchadnezzar setting up his kingdom, his way, to force upon people the idea that they must also acknowledge that this kingdom is the superior kingdom and none other should replace it. So what God had said to him in chapter 2 through Daniel, he was trying to overturn that. He was trying to impose his human wishes, desires, inclinations above what God had said would happen. Right? And we know the story. We know what happened. We know that the three Hebrew boys, they refused to bow to it, and we know what happened there. They threw them in the fiery furnace, and God rescued his people. Now in Revelation 13, we see where the second beast rising up out of the earth causes an image to be made to the first beast. And if we are to look at this imagery in Daniel, then we must look at some alignment. Right? So, this setting up of the image here is suggesting that people are going to seek to impose a system of the first beast that will try to supersede God's way. Any thoughts on this?
Hold on, I was looking at the image because I realized that the image is where the threat of death from these people came from.
That's right. As it was in Daniel.
Right, as it was in Daniel. So I was there looking at it and wondering, what is this image? Why? What is it for? It took me back to the image in Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar's image was a defiance of God.
Mm-hmm.
God said X, and he did not want that. So he's defying God with his image,
Mm-hmm.
and he's forcing others to submit. The beast that was called out of the sea, it said that he had this particular thing about him. The mouth that was given him, it said they spoke great blasphemies. Blasphemy against God, his name, his tabernacle, and the people who dwell in heaven. And he warred with the saints. And he was given power to overcome them for a certain time. So I was saying this image has to have the same purpose. It had the same purpose as the beast that it represented, because it's the second beast that made this image in honor of the first beast.
Mm-hmm.
So this image will have the same purpose, to blaspheme God, to blaspheme his name, to war with the saints. It's the same purpose. So I became very interested in it because the death sentence is not worshiping this image.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to know what was this system. It has to be a system that is in direct defiance of God, that is going to get legal ability to force others to comply.
Yes.
So you're going to have the law behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get the idea of a system, and then you see where the economy comes in with the number of his name.
Mm-hmm.
I get that part. That's still, I don't understand what is this image.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, again, we reference Daniel chapter 3 because the context of Daniel 3, as we just looked at, is that Nebuchadnezzar was saying, my kingdom is not going to be replaced by another. And I want all of you in the kingdom to acknowledge this by bowing down. And anybody who does not bow down is going to be cast into the fiery furnace. In other words, you're going to be put to death. Anybody who does not do it. So what this was it was asking for acknowledgement of the authority of this Babylonian kingdom, of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. You must acknowledge it in order for you to stay alive. So the one in chapter 13 of Revelation, now this image to the beast. Now here we have the beast. Now let us remember that the beast in Revelation 13 that we see coming up out of the sea is the same beast that was in existence during Nebuchadnezzar's time.
Right.
because this beast existed from way back, because it is the kingdom of Satan. The kingdom of Satan that has been seeking to wipe out God to out of the consciousness of humanity. Started in Egypt, as we know. Egypt, Assyria, and here in Babylon, here he was establishing his kingdom as superior to what God had to offer, as superior to God's kingdom. And this was his effort through Nebuchadnezzar to try to establish that superiority. If I can get all of God's people to bow down and acknowledge my kingdom as superior, then I would have won. But God had at least 3 Hebrew boys there, and they refused to bow. And because of their refusal to bow, when Nebuchadnezzar had them thrown into the fiery furnace, heated 7 times hotter than it was before, God's power was manifested. And that is when God came through. And that is when it was established that the kingdom of the beast cannot be superior to the kingdom of God. It was shown right there. So, come across now to Revelation. That same beast power is trying again. So, the beast comes up out of the sea, and he tries his geriatrics and all kind of things to get people to worship him. And then the Satan pulls out a second beast out of the earth. And the second beast causes them to create an image to the first beast. So, what is the image? What did the image in Daniel 3 represent, really? In essence,
Defiance of God.
Defiance of God. Defiance of God. It was something saying, we will replace God and his authority with what we think is what is supposed to be superior. And so it can be a philosophy, it can be a thinking, and if we look right around us today, even what we were talking about before we started here.
Yes, the Tower of Babel.
Amen. That's what it is. That's what it is. So the philosophy, the thinking that is in people's minds, we don't need God. This thing about we can determine our own gender is a part of it. This thing about we can determine our own future. You can be all that you want to be. You listen to all the advertising and all the things around you. That's all they're doing. Take charge of your own life. Take charge of your own future. You can do what you want to do. You can be all things. It's the mentality that is being pushed on us, the philosophy that is being pushed on us. And in that, remember, as much as it says you can be what you want to be, it is really saying kick God out.
Right.
And take our system. And that's what Satan started with in the beginning. He said, you don't need God. Right?
And that is how he gets worship.
Thank you. That's
so
how he
gets
gets
worship. So he doesn't have to use a day. He just has to turn you away from God.
Absolutely.
Because I was thinking about, because I'm looking at all the things that they say could be the mark. Some people are saying is the climate change thing, but I'm saying God is not opposed to climate.
To trying to fix
the planet.
it. No.
From climate change, he's not opposed to that.
Mm-mm.
If you say Sunday, Saturday worship, God would not condemn people for
worship on Sunday,
not observing the Sabbath, because he did not institute it as a law.
Right.
Right? So
if you say human rights, God has no problem with human rights.
God has no problem with human rights. He gave us
That's
choice
right.
by
To love your neighbors,
great.
Love your enemies. So
Exactly.
of course God is in favor of that.
So it has to be something that God does not approve of.
Yes.
Completely does not approve of. Because if you say
I like this.
Yes, Ted.
I like this subject, Don, but as we go on, there's one bridge that I wanted to help me cross, because I think there is much to consider if you take it from this standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
the image that was placed, that Nebuchadnezzar built and placed on the plains of Dura, that image was a direct representation of Nebuchadnezzar himself.
Well, his kingdom at least. Yeah, he saw it as himself, but he was saying, my
Himself
kingdom.
and his entire kingdom, his
Yes.
whole domain.
Mhm.
Or, but the Gina, I want you to help me understand the genealogy, because I think he knew from the standpoint of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and perhaps many others, that they were not going to bow down and worship him, per se.
Mhm.
So he created this image as a symbol of worship,
Mhm.
which in itself is dangerous idolatry. But I mean, can you shed any light on why he took that road down?
Well, I think you almost said it already, Ted, because remember he had the vision in chapter 2, and
Yeah.
his kingdom was represented by the head of gold, but that
Yeah.
head of gold was superseded by silver. A lesser kingdom took over from the greater kingdom, and then that lesser kingdom was superseded by brass, bronze,
And even lesser.
even lesser, and then iron, and then clay, iron and clay. So Nebuchadnezzar said, no, but look, man, my kingdom is the greatest. It's gold. How can the gold transition to lesser elements and go down to nothing? My kingdom of gold is to stand forever. So although God had shown him what is to be, he was now saying, I am going to change things. I am going to change the world from being what God says it's going to be, and I am going to make it what I want it to be. So my kingdom of gold is going to go from head to foot.
Defiance.
It's defiance. It's defiance. He's saying, I am going to make it. God is not right. It's the same thing that happened in the Tower of Babel. It's the same thing that happened in the Garden of Eden. God is not right. We are going to change it. Babel, God said, when God destroyed the earth and so on, Nimrod and his people said, we are not going to trust God. God said, I'll never destroy the earth by flood again. Nimrod and his people said, we don't trust you. We are going to make sure we are okay. We are going to set up our own salvation, our own way of protecting ourselves, because we can't trust God. And this image, Nebuchadnezzar, I'm going to set up my own kingdom that will last forever, not God's kingdom. The image in Revelation 13 is the same thing. Mankind setting up their own system to kick out God. Somebody was saying something.
Yeah, there's a danger, you see, Don, in human beings having men's personal admiration. There's a danger.
A big danger.
And I am looking at it, you see, Kerry, from the standpoint that I don't think that with the awareness that surrounded Nebuchadnezzar, that he would be directly asking people to bow down and worship him. So he used an euphemism, like the thing there, the image, that, but consequently, worship would be attributed to him, Nebuchadnezzar. And this now becomes a direct replica of what the Bible says. That what Satan is working towards is to sit in the temple of human beings, that they might worship him, Satan.
Yeah.
Because to sit in the temple of God don't mean the temple in Jerusalem, you know.
Yeah.
No, he's going to set up himself in human hearts and minds and use whatever conmanship he can use to divert all their attention to him, that they worship him.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that Nebuchadnezzar was full of himself, yes, but I don't think that he necessarily wanted people to directly worship him. He wanted his authority, his greatness.
I was looking at the indirectness in Madame. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, man, I got you. So it's about, I mean, when a person goes around and brags that I have three degrees, they're not saying worship me, they're saying look at how great I am. When a person goes around and brags that they have 10 big house or whatever. They're not saying worship me. They're saying just look at my greatness. They feel good. They are
Yes.
elevating
And
themselves.
when they want that, then you become somebody of great admiration.
Yes. And indirectly you are worshiping the person when you worship their thing indirectly, but it's not directly that a person is going to worship him. But ultimately, remember who the plot comes from. The plot comes from the enemy of God.
The devil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his mission is to take your attention away from God. Take your allegiance away from God. Satan is not saying, come and worship me, come and worship me. That's not so important to him. Nobody's going to do it. He just don't want you to worship God. He just wants you to turn away from God so that he can prove that he was right and God was wrong. Because you know something? If it had been possible and Satan could have been proved to be right, God would have had to leave this earth alone. God would have had to leave humanity alone and Satan would run things down here. Yeah.
And he would have done that already.
Yeah.
And then Don, to endorse what you're saying, remember the scriptures that the counsels in Malachi. Look at what it says. It says, before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, God will send Elijah.
Yes.
Turn the hearts of the children to the Father. I
Yes.
mean, God the Father to turn it back because the perversions of earth had turned their hearts and minds away from
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Yeah.
So look
So I want you to continue to explain now, Don, because you were making an analogy with that image on the plain of Dura
yes.
to the one in Revelation 13, and
Right.
how we should see how that is going to come about.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Daniel, that was a literal physical image that people bowed down to. Certainly, we would not expect that this is what is going to play out again in the New Testament, that is going to be a literal physical image.
I seriously doubt that.
Exactly. So, but God uses in Revelation the imagery from Daniel to make his point. He says, just look at Daniel, look at what happened there, look at what Nebuchadnezzar did. He set up this image to let people worship. For what reason? Because he wanted to establish his kingdom above my kingdom. He wanted to make people bow down to his superiority over mine. Now, come down, fast forward to the last day. And here he comes again, wanting to make people make his kingdom superior, wanting to give allegiance to his kingdom. Not Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was just the puppet, the pawn in the hands of the beast. Right? So here comes the beast right down here again. And now he uses two faces, the beast from the sea and the beast from the land. Same kingdom of Satan. But now he's smart. He says, I'm going to use the same thing. And I'm going to force people to give allegiance to this kingdom. Brethren, we have to be so alert to what's happening around us right now.
Yeah.
Because more and more we see where the systems of the world are setting up compulsory things.
Hi! Now you're getting to the point.
And I'm not talking just vaccine. You know, I'm talking about forcing the consciences of humanity. They are compelling people to go against their conscience. And that is what the problem is. Because when he said to the people, bow down to this image, in order to prove your allegiance, to prove that my kingdom is the best, penalties were attached. They're going to be put to death. But it was going against the consciences, certainly, of the three Hebrew boys and whoever else was there would have known. The amazing thing, and I want to pause at this, I want to think about this carefully.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that when the command went forth, and the trumpet and the psaltery and the harp and everything started to play, the signal to bow down, and when everybody bowed down, 3 men were standing. My question is, at that time, almost the entire nation of Israel was captive in Babylon. But only 3 men were standing. Where were the others? Where were the other Israelites?
Either not there or bowing down.
Well, I am pretty sure some of them must have been on spot. But they were bowing down. They were Israelites, but they were bowing down. Let me tell you something, brethren. It's not going to be an easy thing, you know. It's not going to be an easy thing when the world tell you, say, you can't get any food. You can't get nothing to buy. You can't sell anything. You can't do any business. You can't get a job. Nobody's going to give you employment. Nobody's going to give you... All the generator man him. Nobody now carry no generator to him. Because he's an enemy of the state. Right? When you get down to them crunch, dear brethren, it's not going to be easy not to bow. Are you with me? It's not going to be easy to stand up and know say starvation looking you in your face, and you have your children them who going to be begging you for food, and you're going to hear your picnic them crying, hungry. Mommy, daddy, I'm hungry. It's not going to be easy to resist. So don't think that, okay, we are going to be like those 3 Hebrew boys and we won't be bowing. People are going to be bowing, just like how only 3 men stood up on the plains of Dura and everybody else was bowing. There are going to be a lot of people who call God by name and say they are Christians who are bowing to the system of the beast. And I see it happening. I hear some of the comments of people who are ready to give in. I was looking for another word and it slipped me. But they're ready to, well, compromise will do too. But they are ready to give in to what the
to capitulate, Dan. Capitulate.
Thank you, Clive. Capitulate. Thank you, Clive. That's the word I'm hunting for. Good to have bright people around me, man. A lot of people are going to capitulate because it's your job on the line. It's your bread and butter. It's your children's food. It's your very life at stake. And when that happens, it's not going to be easy. So whatever it is that they implement, don't look for an image to be put up somewhere. Don't look for somebody to get up one morning and say, listen, you know better, whatever. Look for the day by day compromise, creeping compromise, giving in little by little, inch by inch. It's been happening for years now. It's been happening for years, and people have been giving in little by little by little. We have to learn to stand up for right and resist the wrong.
Even just to stand up.
Yes. Yes, Ted.
Yeah. Come on. All right. Look at the situation that the system is likely to introduce. Because I believe that in order to capture the hearts and minds of humanity, one of the best ways to do that is to introduce a utopian society. All right, listen to this now. I think that it will be done in a way that resembles Russian, what do you call it?
Not the KGB.
What the Russian policy name again? Communism.
Oh.
It will resemble it, but it will be a far superior kind of society. All right, can you understand? A society that will be built on let me say, all goodness, for want of a better word. Your children the state will pay all the expense for your children going to school. Hospital bills will be paid for you, and all of this. And imagine, you will go and work for the state or whatever business that you're working for. And in exchange, all of your bills, all of your obligation is taken care of by the state. And I mean, when you look at how the state relates to its people and elevate them, you provide housing at the cheapest cost and so on. And all you have to do is to serve the state with loyalty. Then tell me something now, Don. You think that if you reject that kind of utopia that takes care of you to the T, that you think that I want to keep company with a man like you who reject that?
Well, if it was just the benefits that you're rejecting is not bad. But it's not just the benefits. It is the failure to comply with their rules and regulations. When Nebuchadnezzar say, "Oh, you must bow down," you must bow down. Right? And therefore, when they say to you, you have to, I don't want to pick anything, because I don't want to say this is it or that is it. Because I don't think that Satan is going to, in this last day, make one thing to catch everybody. What I think he's doing, he is getting at us all in the areas where we're most susceptible. Right? And some people may be susceptible when it comes to food. Some people may be susceptible when it comes to what? Some people may be susceptible when it comes to relationships. Say what?
Don?
Yeah, Kerry said something.
Materialism.
Yeah.
Cars and houses.
Of course. Education is another one. All kinds of different things. Yes, Clive.
But you see, to me, at the end of it all, what it eventually boils down to is the acceptance and the sharing in the belief system.
Yes, absolutely.
Because to accept and share that belief system is to deny God.
Exactly.
And that is what it's going to boil down to. Sharing, and remember, you may share it or simply accept it. Either way, you're bad. Either way, you have departed from God.
That's right.
But sharing and participating in that belief system that provides all of these benefits and whatsoever. Yes, you get the housing, you get the food and so forth. But what are you giving up?
Yes.
What do you have to accept in order to participate in that, as Ted calls it, utopian society?
That's it. It's what you are willing to give up and how much you are willing to sacrifice in the face of God.
But you know, Don, I like what Clive says, because look here. If you are going to, in the face of God, becomes part of a system that gives countenance to man and man marrying and this kind of lifestyle, and they are actually working scientifically to make these couples produce children, that is a blatant, out of order, dangerous and dreadful defiance in a God face,
Yeah.
And then I must become a part of that system to believe in it.
Yeah.
No, brother. Me not gonna so at all. So all the niceties that you have attached to this system, go on with it. God has done it before, Don.
Yes.
He has done it over and over. And if me happen to be in a position where I'm at home with my wife and children, me know the God that I serve, I'm going to go get up and see my table loaded with food next morning.
If it's not loaded, brother, what you going to do?
Give thanks.
Because
just wait on it.
Just wait on it. It may not be loaded. You might get one blackbird might carry a little piece of bread, come give you. Stale bread too.
Yeah.
Give thanks.
Yes.
That's what God sent for you today. You might go see piece of bread and ground because
Done.
it's grown them children of Israel pick up them food from in the mornings, no so.
Yes.
The manna was on the ground and they take it up and they brush off if any dirt on it and they eat it. They cook it and they do whatever. So whatever God sends, you see, the thing is we have to reach the point where our relationship with God is not dependent upon anything He does for this flesh. It must be totally based upon our trust and our faith in Him. What did the three Hebrew boys say? We know that our God can deliver us from your
Of
fire.
course.
But guess
even
what?
If he doesn't,
If He does not do it, we still not bow into your system. That's where we have to stand.
matter of fact, we should have this attitude where we resist anything that forces us to go against, or even if it does not concern us,
Yes,
particularly
indeed.
it's not affecting us, we should be against any system that forces people to do something they don't want to do.
Indeed, Kerry.
Because that
Indeed.
You see,
idea is not of God.
That's
you
right.
see, Don and brethren. Let me look at one of the today, the present strategies that these globalists are using. They are using the vaccine, but the vaccine is advancing a lot of things that they want to accomplish among the people of the globe, you know.
You mean
All right.
COVID, yes.
The word I look at this statement with quite a bit of caution, you know, Kerry. Look what it says. And he caused it. It didn't say force him. And he caused all nations to receive the mark. Now, that's very different, I think, Don, in my own understanding. Even if you look at the original language, and it says what it might say. I am of the opinion that they are going to use very little, if any, force. They are going to use the force in a strategic way. Look at it, for example. Right now, they're boiling to the point, you know, Don, where they are setting up the people on the globe and trying to see if they can bring them to the place where they begin to slide and step far from the unvaccinated, you know.
Yeah.
So it is not the government who is going to really put up a fight against you, you know. In other words, the people who are vaccinated and they get them to believe that you who are not vaccinated is actually helping to advance the virus. It is going to set people against you. You see the point I'm making, Karen?
Persecution.
I will give a caution though, Ted.
Talk to me.
Because what you're saying may well be true, right? However, my caution is this. Is not one way. How it go again? How the saying go? There are more than one ways to skin a cat.
Yes.
More than one ways to skin a cat. I don't know why them skinning cat anyway, but but there are more ways than one to skin a cat. The vaccination, because the objective, you know, is not the vaccine, it's not the COVID, it's not the testing. The objective is to get the population to comply with the authorities. That's what it is.
So they could tell us to wear a white shirt.
Exactly.
And they're going to force everybody to wear a white shirt.
Exactly. And all it is doing is making you put in your brain whatever they say to me that I must do.
It.
Whatever they tell me to do, I will do. Now you look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at what's happening right now. There are people who, because they want to do certain things, they might want to go to America, or they might want to go do something, and they say, okay, you have to be tested. Right, they run and go tested, right? Nothing wrong with getting a test. I'm not going to say anything is wrong. We see different conspiracy ideas, we see different ideas about things that may be good or bad about it. I'm not even getting into that. What I'm saying is that they are laying down rules and regulations, and because you want to achieve a certain thing, you comply with it. Now, Ted, you're doing business. You're a generator man, right? And if Azan say to you, listen, I need you to come and install a generator for me, and it's gonna, and you work out and you say, boy, that's gonna cost 3 million now. That's a big lick for you. You would have loved to do a 3 million generator, right? But Azan says to you now, listen, I only allow vaccinated people inside my place. Now, now you may have a problem. Your question is,
Yes.
do I get the vaccine and go do my generator thing so I can get my money, or don't I take the vaccine? Now, if you feel the vaccine is bad, then of course you shouldn't take it. But the vaccine may not be bad. I'm not going into that. I'm saying what is happening is that people are more and more laying down rules and restrictions and regulations until people just want, look how easy they get people to comply with certain things. Them say wear a mask, everybody throw on mask. They say line up outside. Now Jamaicans never like line up. You know that. Now you go anywhere, there are lines lining up going all kind of places because people want to do business. Right? So they are training people to comply.
Follow the rules.
The Prime Minister
Yes.
gets up and he says,
Yes.
okay, 3 o'clock is the curfew. Everybody, fine, Prime Minister knows what he's doing. Then him come and him say 5 o'clock. Fine, Prime Minister knows what he's doing. Everybody's complying with these things. I'm not saying don't comply. I'm not saying anything is wrong. Whether him say 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 11 o'clock, it doesn't really matter. That's not, I might have my opinion about the efficacy of it. But the idea is that they are training us to fall in line,
Orders.
That is the
to
point,
obey the
Don.
orders.
That is the point. That is the point. They are sensitizing people, bringing them into obedience and compliance to rules.
Yes.
So we might be looking at the vaccine, that's a bad thing. Your focus is wrong.
That's right. That's my point.
But even in terms of businesses, you notice how many the documentation, the requirements and all those things.
Yes, I know. A
And
lot of them are changing their
That's right.
Yes, it becomes
their
more
staff requirements. to
right,
include
and they
that.
say it's coming from the head,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you find that there are more restrictions, or they're getting into your business a little bit more, and there's nothing that can be done about it because it's not even the bank. It's not coming from just your little local bank.
That's right.
You know, you
Higher authorities.
higher authorities. So everybody's falling in line. Everybody lining up.
Yeah, and no, that's not to say that you mustn't do anything they say. The thing is,
They're tightening up, man.
they are tightening up. Now, nothing may be wrong with getting a NIDS ID for argument's sake, right? Because getting an ID is not a sin against God. Getting a vaccine is not a sin against God. Getting a COVID test is not a sin against God. Those are not the things that are wrong. It is when you yield your conscience. So when they have got you to the place where you learn to do what they say, you fall in line. I mean, that's what the school system has been doing for years. The school system was designed to teach people to be good servants. It was set up to create working force for the industrial industry, the industrial classes, to create working force. And so they teach people to conform. They go in school, everybody sit, everybody stand, everybody hands up, everybody do whatever. Everybody, you learn to work as a workforce. And it is not today it started, it's been going on. It's been going, but they are tightening it up now. Now, our responsibility, brethren, to ourselves and to God is to listen to the voice of God. And anywhere it infringes on that, that's where we draw the line. Right?
Amen.
That's where
Amen.
you draw the line. And you can't know where it is unless the Spirit of God abides in you. Because we might get up and start resist vaccine and cuss vaccine and all that stuff and spend all the time talking about vaccine and them sneaking something in on you. You don't even realize. Right?
That's it.
So we have to trust God. Right? So the image to the beast, coming back to that, the image is going to be a system that you will have to make a decision to comply with, which will be in opposition to the principles of God. It will get to the point where it will be your life at risk. It's going to go with your sustenance, survival, food, clothing, shelter. Can't get anything to buy ourselves. And it's going to get tighter and tighter, and it's getting there. People are losing jobs because they're not complying with these rules and regulations, right? People are probably dying too because they're not complying, but we're not hearing. We're not going to hear who kill and who don't get killed because they don't comply. But it's happening. But it's going to get tighter and tighter. And each one of us has to decide in our minds that I will surrender myself to God on a daily basis so that He can show me when to draw the line, where to draw the line, and not be fooled by these systems. I believe I believe that what's happening is a big plan. There's a plan
Amen.
to put
Amen.
things in place and for us to be finally deceived. It's the final deception that is coming upon the earth. That's my belief. It says they are going to compel you that you must either have the mark or the name or the number of the beast.
Yes.
Now, it means that any one of those three, you will have been complying with the beast. Whether his
Yes.
mark, his name, or his number, you're in compliance. So don't look for one thing. Don't look for one thing. You are on the beast side if you have any of the three. And then maybe it's a different time. We're going to talk about that some more. We did mention a little bit last week. But God says to us, fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment is come. Worship Him that
Amen.
made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And He says, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God.
That you call hot.
When you think, Don,
That one
Yeah.
the worst.
you see, Don, that it is going to become such an open defiance, you see, where when this system is put in place and it encompasses the entire universe, not universe, the entire planet Earth, where this kind of lifestyle, the utopian kind of life, has never been seen or could never even been imagined when it has been put in place. Then you don't think that them having achieved that will even want to make some boastful talks like Nebuchadnezzar, who says, but is this not great Babylon that I have
Oh
built?
yes. Oh yes.
So you don't think that they're going to be brazen enough to challenge even the Christians and say, but the unseen God that you have served and worshipped all this time, has He ever given you a kingdom such as this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that they were
it's-
brazen enough to say that.
They will. It is going to be flying in the face of God. They're going to be challenging God. They're going to be
Yes.
showing, and,
Yes.
and that's exactly what's happening. We see where people are saying, "Who dare you to say this is male or female?"
Yeah.
God don't
Who
have
dare
a
you?
right. God doesn't have a right to determine if you're male or female. I have my right to determine if I am male or female. I have my right to determine what I am. God doesn't determine that for me. That's kind of what that is saying too. So in all kinds of ways, they're kicking up in God's face. And it's brethren, it's not long.
One of the things that makes it absolutely certain, Don, that it is going to be a system. Revelation 13 gives us a tip on that. It says that the beast that comes up has the mouth of a lion, the feet of a bear, the body of a leopard. All of those, you know what it brings to the fore? That all of those tyrannical characteristics that existed in the kingdoms past is now going to be conglomerated into a system.
Indeed. It's a fine, and you see, because it's the same beast from that time, It's all
Yeah.
in Him already. So
Ah,
this is the
same.
culmination of it. This is the culmination
Well
when
matured, no?
all the mature forces of evil, all the experience he has had, coming down the line with the lion, the bear, the terrible thing, the leopard, the dreadful and terrible beast. All of this experience he has had in fighting against God, people is going to be brought to bear in the final thing. And at such a time as this, will he find faith
But
in
you
the
know,
earth.
once Don, once in a study that I was having, Dina and I was looking at these prophecies, and it occurred to me to ask a question, and I said, "But you know, everywhere that God's plans are laid down, it is usually indicated by the number 7,
Mhm.
which is a clear indication of God's perfect work." But hold on now. I asked the question, how is it that this beast has 7 heads and 10 horns? I can safely say that those 10 horns are representative of the 10 kings that will give their strength and power to the beast. But how is it that this 7 is used in the case of the beast? And Dina said to me, then you see what happened? All of these kingdoms that have passed and gone will culminate into the number 7 one, which is a perfection of evil.
Yeah.
I had to laugh. Perfection of evil. In other words, we don't want to use the word perfection. In other words, evil has now reached its zenith.
Of course, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final. And so it will be at this point in time, the kingdoms of the world will be at their zenith, as you said, and the kingdom of God will clash with it head on. That is what is going to be the Armageddon. That is what is going to be the final conflict upon the earth. And we know that based on Revelation, it will be the time when the kingdoms of this world will become the kingdom of our God. And He will be our Christ. Brethren, we have to be faithful, we have to surrender, we have to hold our faith, hold fast in the face of all the evidence being presented to defy God, to deny God. Let us hold our faith firm. And in the end, if we faint not, we will reap our rewards.
Amen.
I'm going to close here, and I'm going to ask for a prayer.